Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, and I'm joined by my friend Jake. No, he's not from State Farm, but he's got a Ram pickup, and he's got some few issues with the Ram pickup. So I thought it'd be fun to have him on and talk about how much he loves his truck, maybe just a few of the issues he have with it. So, Jake, welcome.
Thank you.
For those who don't know, Jake had done a video for this channel graciously a while ago. I'll link to that above about his truck and how he went from, I believe, a Ford to a Ram. But to give people, let's back up a little bit. So, what's the kind of give us the too long didn't read? Kind of a quick synopsis where you're at, Jake. What are you doing? What's your job and kind of where you're at?
Yeah, sure. So I'm out of the DC area. By day, I'm a consultant, and by night and weekend, I run a website and community for LGBT automotive and motorsport enthusiasts called Out Motorsports. Um, and yeah, when we first talked, I had a 2018 Ford F-150 with the 5.0 in it that a TSB came out. The corrective action from Ford didn't fix it, and long story short, they bought the truck back after some insistence on my part and involving the Better Business Bureau's Autoline program. So I ended up with no truck. I needed another truck or a big SUV. I have a weekend racing hobby that's a part of all this, and I tow a 20-foot enclosed aluminum trailer. So needed something to pull that. And I settled on this, which is a 2016 Ram 1500 Sport. And it was certified pre-owned. It had 41,500 miles. And I was being very picky. I only wanted this color. I only wanted a Sport. I wanted it with every option on it. And I actually found two of them equipped the same way, 20 miles apart locally here.
So you just flipped the coin, but that one has the Hemi in it, right?
Yeah.
And does that have the 8-speed in it?
Yeah. So the 8-speed came out for 2013. And then they did some engine updates over the model years because the Hemi came out, way before this truck did. And I was told basically the newer you can get, the better from the engine standpoint. I guess some of the early ones had issues with the cylinder deactivation and the oiling and camshafts and I don't know what. So I figured a 15 was a pretty safe bet.
Okay, so that all sounds rosy, but I just read an article where maybe it hasn't been as rosy an experience.
Yeah, any rational owner would be much more upset than I am. So I said there were two of these trucks locally here. One was at a Chevrolet dealer and one was at a Chrysler Dodge Jeep dealer. I bought the one that was at the Chrysler dealer because it was certified pre-owned. So they had like the same mileage. They were within $1,000 of each other. And this one was CPO. And I did some research about what CPO meant. And then I tried to have the dealer educate me more on it. And I think I got everyone who was like on their first week working at this place. And the short of it is that I was told that certified pre-owned from Mopar is a bumper to bumper warranty for whatever time period they claim you have. I asked about getting Maxcare, which is the Mopar aftermarket bumper to bumper warranty that you can purchase whether you buy a new or used Mopar vehicle at one of their dealers. And I was told, oh, you don't need Maxcare because you've got CPO. I'm like, okay, great. So I drove this truck for a few thousand miles, and I noticed when it was cold, you would start it up, and when you would put it in reverse, it would just thump. The transmission would make this thump, and it almost felt like I wanted to move the truck. And I had never owned a vehicle with the ZF 8-speed. These are the ZF 8-speed, and on all of the Hemi powered trucks, it's the ZF design that's beefed up and actually built by Chrysler. I think the Pentastar trucks just get a ZF built transmission. So I took it in. The first dealer was like, hey, we can't diagnose anything if there's no check engine light on. And I'm like, well, that's lazy diagnosis. This is not check engine light related. So I finally convinced them to like let it sit overnight. They felt something, I guess, and they put a valve body on it. I drive. It's still doing it. Figure I'm going to get a second opinion. So I go to the second dealership, and they were much better to work with, but they just said, oh, we're just going to put a whole transmission in. So I've got this truck with 44,000 miles on it and a new transmission, which fine, great. couple days later, I'm driving to my parents a couple hours away for Christmas, and some passing Subaru or something frantically flags me down. And I open my window, and they're like, "Your car's smoking," which is never a good thing. So I pull over, and there's like a steady drip of fluid coming off somewhere by the transmission, and the exhaust runs right there. So it was just burning off on the exhaust. And I was like a mile from a Chrysler dealer. So I drove it right there. The Chrysler dealer in Millsboro, Delaware, took care of me 2 days before Christmas. And like an O-ring had become cracked when they reinstalled everything. So it was just like letting fluid dump out. So that was all Christmas time last year. We got the transmission doing its thing again. And then I started having issues with the check engine light for a small evap leak, which is like the worst thing to try and figure out. The whole internet said, "Oh, it's your gas cap." And even the truck knows how to tell you check gas cap. So I bought a new Mopar gas cap for it, didn't fix it. I replaced the purge valve, didn't fix it. So I finally took it back in and had them diagnose it. And they're like, "Oh yeah, the little tube that runs from the gas tank to the evap system is cracked. And it's molded in plastic to your plastic fuel tank. So we have to replace the whole gas tank." The other thing that had started happening while I was replacing parts on my own and dealing with this was the gas gauge started doing this. Every time you filled it up, it would just not have any idea how much gas was in it. Sometimes you'd be driving, hit a bump, and it would go down to empty. So they said, "Oh, well, your fuel level sender's going bad. That's built into the fuel pump. So if we're going to take the tank out to replace it, we'll put a whole fuel pump on it. Your bill will be $3,200.
Oh, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at the situation.
Right. And keep in mind, I had been driving the truck this whole time while I was trying to figure stuff out. And I'd put more miles on it. We had, I had 50,000 on it at this point. And I said, "Well, I bought it CPO. I thought I was told that would cover everything." And, they finally typed stuff in. "Oh, no, that doesn't cut. It's powertrain only." So anyway, I made a few calls. I managed to get a hold of someone in Chrysler's warranty CPO department. And I just said, "Look, I don't know what I got. No one can really explain it to me." And as part of their explaining to me, they offered to help me out with the cost of that repair bill. So now I know what I have. It's a powertrain only warranty. If you want a bumper to bumper, you must pay for Maxcare. But those are all like pretty big repairs to need within 50,000 miles. And while they were in there, they also replaced several of the studs for the exhaust manifolds because they had cracked, or the studs shear off and you get manifold leaks. But there's a warranty thing for that. And they also noticed my intake manifold gaskets were leaking. There's a warranty extension for that. So they've fixed those. So there's just been a lot of stuff that it's needed. And like my backup camera sometimes just doesn't work. But if you get out and slam the tailgate again, it works. The driver's window auto up and down will forget how to auto up every 10th time you use it. So there's just like random stuff. And I mean, several trucks ago, I had a 2011 Ford F-150 that I bought with like the same mileage as this. It was like 44,000 miles. I drove it to 72 or 73K, and like I put brake pads on it. That's all I did. So any rational person would be like, "Oh, this truck is, maybe it led a really hard life before I got it. It was one owner. I think it was leased and they just turned it in." But yeah, it's been a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's just surprising. And it sounds like a lot of some annoying stuff, some, scary stuff a little bit. Like, smoke coming out of a truck is, not a great thing, right? So, I mean,
Yeah.
What I wonder, and I also kind of want a couple of things is, first of all, you bought it CPO, which if you read any of the forums, read any of the stuff, that's the way you're supposed to buy it. Like
right.
Everybody talks about,
they give it this whole inspection and
right. You did it. I mean, you did everything exactly right according to the internet, and then you had these issues with it. So I guess I wonder, your takeaway was learning what CPO warranty actually is, but did you end up buying the Max Pro now?
I didn't. I thought about it, but for those who don't know what my weekend out motorsports outlet is, part of what we've gotten into doing is reviewing new cars and trucks. So I am not driving this very often. I've been fortunate to more often than not at this point end up with something to be driving and reviewing and filming about. I have put 1,000 miles on this truck since August.
Okay.
So I just looked at the cost of buying Maxcare, which would be, $2 or $3 grand probably, versus the miles I won't put on it, and thinking, how long will I keep it? I really don't know. But if I'm only going to put, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 miles a year on it, I think it just makes more sense to pay out of pocket for anything that might go wrong. And the CPO still does cover powertrain stuff. So any engine, differentials, transmission, that stuff's all covered.
So, and let's talk about the engine for a little bit. Now, you and I are talking a little offline. That's one of the reasons you still have the truck is how good it sounds.
I irrationally love this truck. It is like, if you watch all these new car and truck reviews, so many reviewers will get in and like wrap their knuckles on the dashboard. No, it's not soft touch, whatever. Like, this truck is unapologetically kind of very trucky. And part of that is the engine. I think the engineers did just what they could to make the Hemi refined enough for like the discerning customer who thinks they're buying a truck that's also a luxury car. But my truck has remote start, and I park it underground. I live in a high rise, and I make a point every time I walk out to it of hitting the remote start, because from where it'll reach from where I start walking toward it, and you can hear it crank and turn over, and then it kind of like lumbers to life and lopes, and it's just a really good noise. And then obviously if you're like got a trailer hooked up and you're getting it down an on-ramp or something, it sounds really good when you put a lot of load on it.
And you have a half-ton truck there, and there's been a lot of conversation on my channel. I recently bought a new half-ton truck about towing with it. What's been your experience towing with that half-ton? Do you feel like you need the 3/4 ton?
Not for my trailer. If I had something bigger, I might consider it. My trailer, it's a 20-foot box with a 4-foot V-nose on the front, and it's aluminum. So the whole thing loaded up with my car in it weighs like 6,500 pounds, give or take. I've got tires and tools and stuff in there. And I've towed the trailer with all sorts of stuff for the sake of my channel at this point. And I don't think a 3/4 ton is better for a trailer of my size. But a lot of my buddies in the racing world have a 24, 28 foot, or they buy something that's steel because it's cheaper. And I do think that if you went any bigger, you'd be a little more comfortable. But the chassis is big enough to do it. And the 8-speed really helps. Really, the biggest thing is the Hemi being naturally aspirated can just feel kind of slow sometimes, as weird as that sounds. Like it's got, 400 something pound-feet of torque and almost that much horsepower, but it, compared to a V6 EcoBoost Ford, the Hemi will lose every time.
Yeah, but then you get back in fuel economy versus the EcoBoost towing. This whole back and forth.
Oh, there's no fuel economy with a Hemi.
Oh yeah, you're not. Yeah, let's speak about that a little bit. So
I mean, it's awful.
right. I was saying when you're towing with a Hemi versus EcoBoost. I mean, I tow with my hybrid. I mean, EcoBoost is just. I mean, I get lucky, get 6.5, 4. I mean, it just has
Seriously.
It's such a small displacement engine. Well, it's still a 3.6. It's still a V6. Yeah, I towed a camper that was only 5,000 pounds, and I got 7.
That's really surprising.
Miles. Yeah, and I towed a what else I have? Oh, I had a diesel that week the same time. So the Silverado diesel, and that got like 13, 14.
Wow. So this truck will do like 9 or 10, depending on where I'm going. Both racetracks I go to often, I deal with some pretty big hills as part of my route. So in that case, it's like your foot's in the carpet, it's in 3rd or 4th gear, and she's trying. I have towed with an EcoBoost Expedition with the same trailer, and I've managed 10 or 11 with it. Like, it's done okay. And then I've pulled it behind a new Ram 1500 Eco Diesel, and it got like 13 and a half. but that truck makes about 260 horsepower or so, and it's like not enough. You're not passing anyone with that. So
right.
Kind of a trade-off. But the big thing for me, having driven EcoBoost powered Fords unloaded, is they do so much better unloaded, like on the highway or even around town. And this will do like 11 in the city. Like it's miserable. And we took it on a long highway drive this summer. We drove from DC to Indiana to Lake Michigan, and it got 19.
Yeah,
which is like, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I think one of the EcoBoost Fords, or your hybrid in particular, you would have cracked 20.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now I probably got probably per average, depending where I'm driving. If I'm going to drive like a 100-mile loop, 50 miles west, 50 miles east, I'll get about 24. And that's
pretty good.
That's pretty good. I think for the half-ton truck, that's pretty good. It's 5,800 pounds of curb weight, so you're moving still mass around, still a box on wheels.
Mm-hmm.
When I drive to Cheyenne, because it's 2,000 feet up and it's 80 miles an hour into the wind, I get like 19. But I mean, again, it's just where you drive and where you're driving toward, that kind of stuff. But the EcoBoost, EcoBoost unloaded should do better than your Hemi. And then
right,
I'm a little surprised by your towing numbers. It should be the reverse a little bit. But every vehicle is different. Every towing experience is different. And unless you're one of those guys who has a logbook, meticulously writing down each exact thing,
right?
You're kind of going off anecdotes. Like, yeah, that one time I drove here, I kind of did it. That's kind of what you get to these days. So I got one final question for you here.
Yeah.
So you've had a Ford, you've had a Ram. Now, let's say you decide to sell this Ram. Would you still buy another Ram after your experiences, or are you going to shop around for something different?
If I were to look brand new, absolutely. I've driven the new ones in 1,500 and 2,500 form, and they're very, very impressive. I've got time with the 2021 F-150 coming in a few weeks, which I'm excited for. I'm not put out by this experience. Like, it's not souring me on the brand. And the reason why is because they have taken care of me. Every dealership is different and they're all franchises. So it's kind of based on your dealer experience. But everything where I've brought up a concern or a complaint with the Ram has been handled. I have owned vehicles from other brands where I've been told to go away. I've been told that what is marked as a problem and the manufacturer acknowledges is actually not a problem because they're tired of hearing me complain about it. I've owned vehicles by brands where they were slapped with a class action lawsuit for parts failing that could have led to some bad crashes. And they would still tell the customer, no, that's normal operation. So, this has been a pain, but I think there's the potential with any car or truck. They're all machines, partially assembled by humans, and stuff goes wrong. It kind of is what it is. So, of all my tow vehicles that I've had, truthfully, my most reliable one has been a 2010 supercharged Range Rover. It's like, you want to talk reliability, I would buy that truck 3 times over. But from a half-ton pickup truck perspective, this came on the end of the Daimler era. They got Sergio and all the FCA folks in there, and these were supposed to be a mild refresh. And he said, oh no, we're going to do an updated frame, updated interior, updated everything. But I think there might still be some remnants of Daimler era cost cutting in there. So I don't know. And the truck has enough personality to it. And like, some people don't want that. They don't care about that. They just want reliability, which, like, fine, go buy a, 2008 Tundra or something. But this puts a smile on my face. There's the exhaust. There's the, stupid loud sound system. It's got the limited slip rear. You can drift it through an intersection if you want to. And it's just got this charm that kind of makes up for all the crap I've dealt with. So yeah, I would absolutely look at a Ram again. It's a very long answer to that.
I can just tell how much you love it. I mean, just your smile emanates every time you talk about it. I mean, it's like it's just, I can see it coming out from your face.
Well, it's the first, I had a 2018 F-150 that was like, I got a new job, I was making more money, and I went to the dealer and like I literally walked in and pointed at the one in the showroom and said that one. And it was like not a cheap truck. And I've had some others that, have been the right tool at the right time, but they've all been tools. And this, I contemplated not even buying a new truck and just renting stuff when I needed it, and buying like a toy sports car instead. But I decided ultimately to get something, and I just feel like this fits my personality really well. And yeah, I've really fallen for it. I was talking to a friend of mine whose dad has an older Ram 2500, and he said his dad did the same thing. He traded out like an '01 Power Stroke Ford for this Ram 2500. He's like, my dad sits in the garage and stares at it. Whatever great. They've made something that's emotionally appealing to some people. But like I said, I live in a high rise. I take it through automatic car washes. I don't have the facilities to really put it in a driveway or put it in a garage and like clean it up. I've hand waxed it twice in front of my apartment building because it just looks better when you wax it. Like, I'm willing to be that guy with people staring at me because I like the truck.
Yeah, that's a great story. So where can people find out more about Out Motorsports?
So we've got a website, outmotorsports.com. We have a whole membership community if people are looking to connect with others there. We do monthly Zoom calls. We have a Discord server for like a chat room. And then we're on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for being on today.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, guys. We'll see you down the road.